right. Welcome, everyone, to episode 1 of You Should Quit. I am sitting here with Kevin Wood. Welcome, Kevin.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, this is awesome. I first want to start this off by huge thank you to you. The whole idea to do the podcast actually came out of the time that we had met up and you were doing a little bit of filming for your video series. And you were telling me about your life and some stories you had. And I was like, fuck, this guy has some awesome stories. I need a platform to showcase guys like Kev.
Cool. That's awesome to hear. Yeah, it's fun just getting out there and meeting new people, right? It's a great way to do it. Other podcasts or videos, whatever works.
Yeah, I love your video series, how you were showcasing local people here in Kamloops and some great things that they're doing.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, there's so much, in real estate, kind of like an advocate for Kamloops, in my opinion. And just kind of wanted to create something where I could highlight the good, positive people and businesses and ongoings in the city.
Real estate, then you mentioned that. Is that what you do for work then?
Yep. Yep. Full time, loving it, getting out, selling houses.
How long have you been doing that for?
I'm in my 4th year, but I've been buying and selling my own places since I was 20, so 30 years.
30, so you're 50 then?
Yep.
Man, I would have said you were like the same age as me. I'm 39, just so everyone else out there knows. So, oh man. Of course, I prepared a bunch of notes and then I brought my wrong notepad. So
And the wrong address.
yeah, yeah, I sent you to the wrong address.
That's all right. I've sort of felt like you might have sent me astray. Like, maybe we're not going to do this today.
Yeah, I'm definitely not Paladin Security. So, well, I guess I'm going to go off the cuff here then. So,
Perfect.
You mentioned you buying and selling houses since you were 20.
Yeah. So my dad actually kind of got me started, saving money and thinking about finances as a young age. He kind of rewarded me for saving $100. We didn't go out for dinner a lot, so going out for dinner was a big thing. And he said, if you can save $100 from your paper route or doing whatever you're doing, cutting lawns, I'm going to take you out for dinner. So it was like $100 dinner. And then soon enough, that turned into $1,000 dinner. And he showed me about investing in Canada savings bonds. Back in the day, I was getting like between 7 and 12% on a Canada savings bond.
Wow.
So I got hooked on that. It's like, hold on a second. Someone's going to give me $12 just for holding on to my $100 for a year. I was just like, this is the best thing ever.
So you learned about compounding interest at a young age then.
Yeah. And then my folks basically said, yeah, if you want to go to university, which is probably the path you should do, you're going to have to save your money and do it yourself because we're not paying for it. And that kind of, went down the road of saving money for that, but ended up not going to university and used it on a home. So yeah.
Was there any major thing that happened in your life to not want to go to university then? Because I know that's typically the path that you're supposed to do, elementary school, high school, university, wife, house, etc. But you skipped the university part?
Yeah. Well, I went to university a lot, but mostly for parties. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have, and I kind of wanted to touch on that too. Like I didn't have a clear vision of what I wanted to do. So I was like, well, why would I go and invest this time and money into this giant question mark? And I know a lot of people, young people, struggle with that. I mean, it's like, especially now, the opportunities are so vast and there's so many different routes to get to where you want to get to. But even deciding where you want to go can be such a daunting task. And I was stuck there for a long time. Like, I have no idea.
And it's so expensive too.
Well, yeah, that I didn't even think about that so much as like I just couldn't fathom wasting the time. It's like a ship with no rudder. I had no direction. So
So you started off with a paper route. I had a paper route when I was a kid too.
The best thing, what? I wish they still had it for kids because what other way? It's like the perfect business training. You go around and collect money for the services you did, and people don't pay you, and you realize what business is actually like.
How long did you do that for?
I started when I was 8, and I think I stopped when I was 14.
I did it 8 to 14 as well.
Yeah. It was fun. I don't know. We did that. I had a morning paper route and an evening paper route at times, and then started working at a shotgun club.
Shotguns?
Yeah, my grade 8 math teacher was this wild Italian guy who was just so hilarious. And he said, hey, does anybody want a job on Tuesday night? And I was like, yeah, sure. Didn't care what it was. And was a trap boy, putting the clay pigeons on the machine. And did that for a while, and then worked at a bike shop. That was kind of cool.
And then I know that you got quite into biking as well, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's that whole thing. Like I was into, mountain biking right from the start. In 1988, I bought my first mountain bike and loved it. Just totally addicted from day one. And getting the job at the shop really sort of nurtured that. And I think it also nurtured, entrepreneurial spirit, because the two brothers who owned that shop, it's actually interesting. We was talking with one of the old employees, and almost every single person who ever worked there went on to have their own business.
They taught you some great skills.
Oh
then.
yeah. They were all about empowering people to do their own thing. Yeah.
From your mountain biking in the shop, what was your experience with that, and how did you parlay that into future entrepreneurial endeavors then?
The shop actually encouraged me. That we're going biking together, and he says, "Well, there's a race. You should probably enter it." I'm like, "I don't know." I don't know. Well, I go biking for fun, and he said, "No, enter this thing." They pushed me to do it. I was like, just turned 14 years old, and did it. Thought this was the best thing in the world, so got completely hooked in competing in cycling, and met a ton of good people through that, and parlaying that into business. Yeah, it's sport. Well, sport and business is basically, they parallel one another so strongly, especially individual sports. You get in what you put out. If you don't train, you don't do your homework, you don't do your background getting ready for that event, you're not going to do well. And same as business. If you don't put in the effort, you don't win.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more that both the parallel between sport and business, and especially with sport, there's especially at the higher levels, there's winners and then there's the losers, and that's how it's going to be in business and in life too. It's cutthroat out there, and if you're not putting in those extra hours when you're not, racing, if you're not doing the practicing, you're never going to improve, and you're just going to get left in the dirt, pun intended there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So with your racing, I know the biking landscape has changed quite a bit, probably the last decade. So when you were racing, what was it that you were racing?
I initially started in cross country. So I was the spandex wearing kid riding the bikes were so different. In one weekend, you'd have one bike and you'd race a cross country race, and then on Saturday, and then on Sunday you'd race an actual uphill race. So it was like you start at the bottom of the hill, you end at the top, and then right after that you'd line up and do the downhill race.
So was it kind of like enduro then?
They just called it cross country
They
racing,
called it cross country
and then
back
you'd
then?
have these uphill and downhill events, and that was sort of an afterthought. But they'd have a winner for the three events.
And for the uphill, was it still on like a road bike and you're doing a sprint uphill basically?
No, just like a hardtail mountain bike. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you just ride for an hour or 45 minutes, an hour and a half up the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how far did you take that?
I did fairly well in cross country. I sort of stopped when I was 18. I'd just gone from the junior category to the elite category, and at 18, your focuses sometimes change, and mine did. I did a little bit of racing and competing after that, but kind of lost the passion a little bit.
Yeah.
Took a little bit of a break from riding it at all, and then got back into it. Did a couple different styles of events. I competed in trials mountain biking, which is riding obstacles and tricky routes. You're not allowed to put your feet or hands down. Did some road riding, road cycling racing. It was a mouthful. And then found the real passion in downhill. Yeah. And then I started that. Well, always did the downhill, but strictly focused on downhill racing through my 20s, and that was a lot of fun. Made it up to the elite level, pro level, whatever you want to call it. I was never considered myself a professional, as I never really drew a wage, but it was fun.
So with all the racing and competing in different aspects of it, you must have been pretty disciplined from quite a young age then to reach that level?
Yes and no. I think that's one thing that could have probably improved upon. Consistency over time is a winner in all things, I think.
Yeah.
I would have times of consistency followed by times of inconsistency. Yeah. And that, you're in the moment, you realize what you're doing and not doing, and the results follow.
Yeah, consistency will beat intensity
100%.
over the long run.
You can try as hard as you want for a short period of time, but it doesn't really matter if you're not doing that over a long period of time. So yeah, I think I let myself down in terms of potential, like reaching potential from not having the consistency through a long period of time. But, I still did well. It was like top 3 in BC Cup regularly. And yeah.
So with knowing that you feel that you missed out on some potential, did you use that experience at all moving forward in the rest of your life?
100%. Absolutely. Yeah. Now, I'm 50 and in real estate, you think, okay, well, he said he's in his 4th year. So yes, I did start a new career, typically later in life. That's not normal to be starting a new thing when you're 46.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've also never been scared of trying new stuff. And if it's working, keep going with it. If it's not, then pull the pin and move on. But yeah, no, this is a passion. And yes, absolutely. I call upon those, lingering thoughts of like, oh yeah, if I woulda, coulda, shoulda kind of thing, but you don't want to repeat those things.
Yeah. Learn from your history, learn 100%. From your own mistakes. And so we know about Kevin at 46, we know about Kevin at 20 and some biking, but you said you used that money that was supposed to be for university and purchased a house. Tell me about that part of your life.
Oh boy, that was a real fun thing.
Flip houses or?
No, actually it started out pretty, when you think you're a rock star. Oh, you got this condo. Yeah, it's going to be so much fun, blah, blah, blah. Got your first place. Well, I don't know if you recall, but there was the leaky condo thing in Vancouver.
I think I remember something about that.
Yeah. Well, I was one of the lucky recipients of said leaky condos. It was a brand new building when I got in there. No one had ever lived there. I thought, oh, this is going to be perfect. No problems, brand new, fresh start. Well, nothing could have been further from the truth. Yeah. Just got absolutely kicked in the nuts. Yeah. As soon as we got this report, I never forget, we got this report back, there's all this rot. I'm like, this building's like 3 years old. What the hell's going on here? So instantly, I went to the AGM. I was young. I put up my hands like, why don't we just pay out of pocket? They said it's whatever, X number of dollars to fix. Did the math, that's X number of dollars per unit. And they looked at me like I was crazy. No, the developer's going to pay for this. I was like, dream on. That's a numbered company owned by a numbered company. They're never going to do anything for us. Oh, well, new home warranty will fix it. I was like, okay, well, in the meantime, it's getting worse and worse and worse. So I put my place up for sale the next day. And of course, it's now been disclosed that there's an issue. So I struggled to sell. We had showing after showing, lived, I think it was 6 or 8 months to sell the place. Oh, it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. Keeping it immaculate for all that time and the showings. Now I really have a sensitivity for my clients now. It's like, yeah, it's a lot to live that way, keeping your house like show home ready. But anyway, I never forget, I was sitting in my car having lunch, and we hadn't accepted we'd accepted an offer. And obviously subject to them reviewing the documents, and they're like, okay, they had some confidence because we had new home warranty. Literally the day the subjects were supposed to be removed, new home warranty went belly up.
Wow.
They'd been actually stealing all the money. So I was just devastated. I'm like, holy crap. You're just watching your world implode financially. You think you've done everything right. Yeah. And that's just it, right?
You did do everything right up to that point.
You can do everything right, and it still doesn't work out. So kind of just have to proceed as if it will. Yeah. Because what's your alternative?
Yeah. Life is what happens when you're making other plans, right?
That's right. Yeah. You just got to do it.
So do you end up selling it and taking a wash on it?
Yeah. I took a total bath, and they had to hold back just in case there's a special assessment. Of course, most time there's a hold back. It doesn't come back to the seller. So it is what it is.
I wonder if Strata just ended up asking everyone to pony up then if there's no insurance to cover it.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, everybody had to pay quite a bit of money to have it fixed. And anyway.
You got out.
Upward. Yeah, we got out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was unfortunate, but whatever, you live and learn, right?
Yeah. So what were you doing for work at that time then?
I've done a lot of different jobs, to be honest. At that time, my wife loves it when I say this, I was a pool boy in West Vancouver. Yeah. Going around cleaning pools.
Seems like you and I have a lot of similar pasts. I myself was once a pool boy.
Really?
I
did not know that.
Horrendous story.
Oh, tell me.
So one of the jobs for cleaning pools is also you have to do like hot tubs and stuff.
Yeah.
So I show up to this hot tub and I take the lid off, and there's this pink kind of foam on top.
God.
And I start, draining it. And I start cleaning it. And then the homeowner comes out and he's like, "Oh, thank you so much. It's so nice to be able to get this clean." I'm like, "Yeah, what is all this?" And he goes, "Oh, my dad died in it and was floating in it for a week before anyone found him."
Oh my God.
So he had started to decompose in the pool. And
Wow, he didn't think to tell you this. That's
well, I call my boss up and I said, "Hey, there was a dead guy in this pool." And he goes, "Yeah, I know."
no.
Yeah. And I said,
No.
"You didn't think that you should tell me or that I should have some extra PPE or anything?" And he's like, "No." Yeah. So
Holy, that's amazing.
I'm like 3/4 way through the job at that point. I'm pretty disgusted by it, but I'm also feel for the guy who the homeowner there. And he goes, "I'm having a coffee." He goes, "How would I slip a little Bailey's in your coffee and it'll make
Sweeten the deal.
make it a little better?" I'm like, "No, I've always been really good. I'm like, not going to drink on the job." And I finished it. And actually, so I raised a little bit of stink at work for that. And I'm not going to slander any businesses, but no, I'm not going to say it. And then a week later, I got laid off.
Really?
Yeah, for raising a stink about having to clean up, human organic matter out of this hot tub.
God.
Yeah.
That is gross, man. That is gross.
Yeah. Makes for a funny story.
It does. It does. I got charged once.
While being a pool boy.
Yeah, the guy, he was a stock trader, and I think he had a major stressful day.
Sure.
And he thought I rushed the job or whatever. Comes out and he was absolutely screaming at the top of his lungs, friggin' massive guy, like bigger than you. And I was like totally scared. I'm like, holy crap, he's gonna start swinging at me. And I'm like, I was literally this close just to double handing him into the pool and running away. Just push him in and then leave. And I'm like, no, I gotta stay professional. And because I was like nervous that he was gonna injure me, right? And I'm like, oh my God, this is not good. Turns out he was just, pissed off with his job or whatever, it was a crap day. Anyway, I redid the pool and he was fine or whatever. And then I left, phoned my boss, another great role model for me business-wise. And I said, "I'm never coming back here.
Yeah.
Just not going to come back. This guy's a psycho." And he said, "Nope, you're going to take the week and you're going to think about that. And guess what? You are going back there because that's what you do." And I said, "Okay." And sure as shit, I go back the next week. He and his buddy and their wives it was like 3 p.m. They're still partying from the night before.
We probably had a good day trading socks the day before then.
And now all of a sudden he's buddy. "Oh, great to see you, Kev. Oh, yeah, come and join us in the hot tub." I'm like, hell no, I am out of here. I'm going to do my job and leave. But you just never know what someone's going through in the heat of the moment and why they're acting the way they're acting. So.
All right. So we've checked off. We've both been paper boys. We've both been pool boys.
Have you ever worked on the oil rigs?
I did exploration drilling out in Fort Mac. So it wasn't directly on the oil rigs, but we were searching for in the oil sands. So you did that too then?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I was a roughneck for a while over the winters.
Brutal winters, man.
Yeah. But I swear, if you took everybody, you know how we're talking about, or how I felt when I was describing leaving high school and going, oh my gosh, I should be going to university and I should be doing this or that or whatever. I swear, if everybody graduated high school, had to do a year as a server in a restaurant and a year on an oil rig as a roughneck or lease hand or whatever you are, the world would be full of happy people doing other things. And also be a lot more respect for servers. They would know the time and effort and the hard work that server does. Oh my God,
to get there.
I was a server for a while, starting my first business, and I tell you, it is way harder than it looks. I'm really good at some things. That is not one of them.
I bartended for about a decade. So.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't for me.
I loved it, man.
Well, I loved the people part.
Yeah.
But the system back then, I was just like, half the time it worked, half the time it didn't. And I'm like, this is too much.
Yeah, I got away from it in the end. They call it the money trap because it's such good money for the hours that you have to work. Yes. But it was being up till 3, 4, 5 in the morning, and then next day up with my kids at like 8 in the morning, and it made it really tough.
Yeah, it's for a certain stage of life, it's awesome. But
Yeah.
if you start transitioning that your stage of life and keeping that employment, it's pretty rough.
I think bartending and serving, it's given me one of the best skills that I have, and that's just talking. I've always I'm ADHD, like center of attention. I'm good at talking, but once I learned how to bartend, and there's all these girls coming up, and there's all these like jacked up guys coming up, and they would never have given me time of day on the street, but I'm the guy behind the bar.
You're the important one there. You hold the power.
Yeah, I hold the power, and they coming up to me, and they're high-fiving, and they're laughing, and I'm like, hey, they're just normal people too. And after, I don't know, 3 or 4 months when I first started doing that, I could just talk to anyone about anything, and it just kind of rolled off the tongue.
Yeah, it's an important skill to have, but it's a practice skill. Everything is, right?
Yeah. What was your first business then while you were also doing the serving?
Well, it should have been being a real estate agent, but it wasn't. Rewinding to the pools, I used to always find it really interesting. I'd always try to talk to all the different people. I had sort of your average Joe homeowner with a pool in the backyard to the super fancy houses, like waterfront, absolutely spectacular homes, right? And I'd always find it really interesting what the rich guys would do. So I'd always try to get in conversations with them and pick their brain and befriend them to a degree. Obviously, we weren't buddies, but they like talking to you if you're interested in them. That's one thing I realized there. If you're, everybody's number one to themselves. So if you're interested, you don't have to be interesting. You just have to be interested.
Yeah.
And
get them talking about themselves.
Get them talk about themselves, and they'll brag, and you just listen, and it's awesome. But one guy, I kind of became buddy-ish with him. He had this beautiful pieces of wood in his pool room. It was in a garage or whatever. And over 6-month period of time, this pile of wood turned into a handmade piano. Like, actually, he made a piano in his garage.
That's a skill to have.
Oh, it's unbelievable. So obviously, I'm like, I like woodworking. So I was picking his brain about this thing. He said, oh, yeah. Well, I used to have this huge company that made handmade pianos and harpsichords, sent them all over the world. Like, holy crap, why would you stop doing that? He said, because I found real estate. I said, okay. He said, you should be a realtor. And of course, I'm like, I've always been interested in real estate, always look through the real estate in the newspaper, follow it, study it, there's a lot of people who do that, but I was, super passionate about it. And I looked in the mirror, I'm like, whatever, I was 21, 22 at the time. I looked like I was about 12. I'm like, nobody's going to take me seriously. Like, hey, knock, knock. Hi, Caleb. Yeah, I'm 12 years old. Do you want me to sell your house? Bro, I wouldn't even get you to, you could sell me shoes. That's not a house. Anyway, so it was in the back of my mind all the time. But my first business, I came back from a winter of oil rigging, and my girlfriend at the time, her mom's like, oh, well, you're not doing anything. Why don't you, will you paint my bedroom? I want to sell my home. I said, yeah, sure, I'll paint the bedroom, whatever. Who can't paint, right? Yeah. Paint this bedroom. Oh, that looks so great. Now the hallway looks like crap. Can you paint the hallway? Well, now the kitchen and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, on and on. I painted the whole interior of the house. In the meantime, her friend come over and is like, oh, Kev, I didn't know you painted. I said, yeah, for sure. I'm painting this house for. And I'm obviously going to the paint store all the time, and they go, man, you're really busy. Kevin, I had to chat to them, right? Yeah. Interested in them and talk to them. And they say, oh, hey, do you have any business cards? You're obviously hopping busy. Like, do you have any business cards? And I was like, not on me. Ran home, get on the computer, hacked together a crappy looking business card and came out with a name, went down to Staples the next day, printed up some business cards. Here you guys go, and they put them up and started pumping me, and started getting a job here, job there, and then I just got hooked on the hustle. I drive anywhere I was driving. If I saw a ladder leaning on a house, 2x4s in the yard, 2x4s in the truck, whatever, new house being built, I'd go knock on the door and say, hey, I'm a painter. I got this painting company. Here's my card. If you want pricing, let me know. And just got totally hooked. And before I knew it, I had a helper, then another one, then another one, then another one, and got 15 to 20 guys within 4 years. And yeah.
That's starting at 21 up to 25 then. Wow.
Yeah.
Quite the rise.
Yeah, it was fun. Well, I started a little bit later than my age, 21. I think I was 25 or something like that. Okay. Yeah, it was fun.
So you've always had that entrepreneurial bug in you then?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just like eat what you kill, right? Kind of, I'd rather do that than the grind where you're getting a salary, which there's nothing wrong with that. And a lot of people thrive on stability.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one of them.
I like a little bit of chaos
Oh,
myself.
100%. Yeah.
Makes life interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where did you grow up then? It wasn't Kamloops then, right?
No, I grew up in North Vancouver.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of construction going on there then.
Back when it wasn't fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit different now.
And how long did you do the painting business for?
That was about 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wound it up when I moved up here.
What was the reasoning to kind of get away from that then?
Moving here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I've got people move for love or money, and I moved for love.
Yeah. Did you sell then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I sold everything. Yeah, actually to a friend of mine.
Was he one of your first employees then too?
He was.
Yeah.
He was such a good guy. He worked. I can't even say he worked for me. He worked with me, and he didn't. He knew I was struggling because the first, when you first start out, you just fuck everything up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got this subcontract job to paint an exterior, and I underbid it so badly. I think I paid about $2,500 to paint this guy's house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm like just dying. And this guy, he's working night shift. He's like, holy crap, Kev, this is not going well for you. I'm like, no, it is not. This is shit. In hindsight, he could have just walked away or said, give me more money or whatever. But I didn't. I said I'd do this thing, and I followed it through. Anyway, my buddy's coming and helping me for free. Just a super salt of the earth kind of guy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He's probably a little bit, saw your vision, saw the passion in it.
Yeah. And then, he ended up, joining with me and working for money later.
Yeah. Got to pay him eventually.
Yeah. And now he's got a thriving painting business up in Yukon.
So did he continue the business in North Van?
No, he didn't. That was the plan, but series of life events, he ended up shifting up to Whitehorse in the Yukon.
Yukon's beautiful though.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so good. I've been up there a lot. It's a beautiful, beautiful spot. If the weather, when it wasn't dark all the time
Yeah,
in
half
the
the
winter,
year.
I could live there for sure.
Yeah, land of the midnight sun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you moved to Kamloops for love? Is that wife or kids?
Well, my wife now, she has a son from a previous marriage.
Yeah.
So she couldn't really move to join me in Vancouver due to that, which I also think is awesome. So I've got an amazing stepson who's now 21, and yeah, I've been in his life since 5, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So how long have you been in Kamloops now?
A little over 15 years. I bought my house in 2010.
Okay.
But I've been coming up since 2009.
Okay. What do you do after painting?
Kind of, I did a little bit of painting here when I got here.
Yeah.
It was a departure from running the business to being back on the tools, which was like, oh God, I don't want to do this anymore. So yeah, there was an adjustment period for sure. And then started couple different online businesses, and then kind of went back into the trades and did a bit of general contracting and some renovation work. And then I was like, you know what, I've got to kind of follow what I wanted to do all those years ago, and then pulled the pin, became a realtor.
I want to touch back on when you moved up here and you said you're back on the tools. Were you working for yourself at the time, or you were working for someone else? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I know once you've worked for yourself and you know the hard work that you're putting in, you know what you're going to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine going back to working for someone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did have a stint where I had a job. That was weird.
I couldn't do a job again.
Well, you and myself are probably unemployable.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm leaving. What? No, you're not.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I am. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go do what I need to do today, and then I'm gonna work all night. No, that doesn't fit into my model.
Yeah. I remember my last bartending job. I came in, and in my mind, they were doing everything wrong. I mean, you could do this different. You could move the glasses here. You could have this set up. They're like, why would you have a bus bin to put glasses in? So I don't have to walk 15 feet to put them in the glass washer, because every time I have to walk for 2 cups, it's less time I can serve people. And they're like, no, we can't do that. It's against code, against policy. I just fucking did it anyways.
Yeah.
And I changed a bunch of the things, and their sales went through the fucking roof.
Right.
And they grumbled at me, but did they let me do the changes? Yes.
Yeah, I guess so.
So
yeah, money talks, right?
Yeah. But I knew from, probably my first real job, I was 15 or 16 working at McDonald's, and I've always butted head with management. And I knew, I'm like, one day I have to be my own boss because I can't get along with anyone else.
Yeah, and I'm assuming, and I had an experience that I'll tell you about in a second, but I'm assuming from those things where you're like, oh, I butted heads, and these supervisors or owners or whatever, your boss wasn't listening to you. I'm gonna guess that you're open to the people who work for you now.
Yeah, I have an open door policy,
Yeah.
and I love getting suggestions because I think a certain way, and just because I think a certain way doesn't mean it's always the right way.
For sure.
I did believe that when I was younger and worked for other people, and I thought they were all idiots. And
Yeah, of course.
some of the times they were, but yeah, I think collaboration is really huge.
You can learn something from anybody at any stage of life. Like it just doesn't. You never know.
Yeah,
It's always worth listening, I think.
yeah. I've worked on my listening skills a lot over the years. I always tended to talk too much and not listen enough, and then series of years of self-reflection and self-improvement, reading a lot of books and how to improve myself. And one of the things was, you got 2 ears and one mouth, so you should listen twice as much as you speak.
Yeah, it's not always easy.
No, not at all. So,
No.
but I do love being my own boss.
For sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I remember working at that shotgun club. And it was always, I'd just get a ride there with someone. They paid me like $4 an hour, which, you think about that today, it's like
Wow.
crazy, but that was minimum wage.
Yeah, I started at $6 an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because these guys, they're adults, and me and the other boys there were 13 years old. And they would power trip over us by making us wait a minimum of half an hour to give us our pay at the end. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me, man? Like, just give me my cash. You're sitting there, you're smoking and having a drink and making us stand there and wait, knowing damn well that our ride is waiting for us. And
Should be paid for that time.
Well, that's just it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I will never be like that to anybody because it's so freaking disrespectful.
Yeah.
And as a kid, you haven't figured out that you can stand up for yourself yet. And even if you did at that age, they'd probably go, fuck off,
Yeah. And especially when you're, in that position of authority or you're the boss, it's better to have your employees or the people that work underneath you respect you than it is for them to fear you.
100%. Or hate you.
Hate you, yeah.
It's like awesome.
That person that hates you isn't going to go above and beyond when, someone else called in sick today and you got to go put the clay pigeons out there, but you have to work twice as hard for the same amount of money to make sure the people that are shooting get the same experience.
Exactly. Yeah.
And fuck you. You're going to make me wait 30 minutes at the end. I'm going to work my normal speed.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did mess with them a few times. There's one guy who was awful, absolutely awful to us. And he ended up catching on to what I was doing because I would see where he was standing in the line because there's like position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever.
Yeah.
I'd see where he was standing and I'd bring chewing gum and stick it on the inside of the clay target. So when it flew, it'd curve.
Oh,
And he'd miss. And then he went out and he figured it out one day. He's like, I don't know which one of you little pricks is doing this. I'm like, well, not me. No.
sounds like you need to get better at shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Practice a little more, buds.
Yeah.
Don't be a jerk to the kids.
Yeah. So going back to, you knew that you should have gotten into real estate looking back at your life much younger. What was the catalyst for finally making that plunge?
That's a good question. It was just time.
Yeah.
It was just time. Yeah. I just saw what I was doing, and I had just finished unwinding a business. Started a virtual summit company with a business partner out of Louisiana. It was a really cool company. We had tons of free education. We'd have speakers from all over the world. We had 197, we called them recruiters. They were basically out there sourcing, creating a summit, like a virtual conference, online conference. So they would pick a topic, we'd go over it with them, and then we had systems in place for them to bring on speakers. And it was a lot of fun. I got to meet a ton of people. I can imagine how many people was coming through the door, right? So that we thought we were in the perfect position when COVID hit. We're like, holy cow, this is like bad that this is happening, but crazy good fortune to be positioned as well. All these physical conferences aren't happening now, so we can run them. And at the same time, everybody in the business world is pivoting and giving away everything online for free. So we would give our stuff away for free, but if you wanted to watch it in the future, you had to pay $100 or whatever it was, and then our sales just dropped off dramatically because people were worried about their future. Are we going to have money? Are we going to be able to afford life? I don't need to spend $100 or $150 on this thing. I can get it free, or forget it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to be out. The government gave me some money. I'm going to go buy a mountain bike.
Especially when they're only living off $2,000 a month with COVID checks.
That's right. Yeah. So we unwound that. It was like really unfortunate because we were both really passionate about the project. It was a really fun thing. And at that time I said, you know what? I don't want to do anything else. I want to go for real estate and let's see what happens.
You mentioned you've had a lot of interesting people come through. What would you say was the biggest lesson that you learned from any of the speakers?
Lessons from the speakers. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that come through because typically those would be the ones who we'd be targeting, right? If you phone, say, oh, we want to have someone talk. Just hearing their stories, I wouldn't say there was a specific lesson, but, a common thread is, sticking to things. And then just, we had, a lot of our focus was on health and wellness, physical, mental well-being, finances, emotional, relational, that kind of stuff. So I don't know. Our goal was always just progress in your life. So, if you can think of 1% better every day,
compounds over time.
And just speaking to all these different people, you kind of see the struggles. Everybody has very similar struggles. And you sometimes, as a business owner, you sometimes are like, oh my God, am I doing everything wrong?
Yeah.
And you're just not.
Syndrome,
it's just everybody has all these issues, all these things. They may be slightly different for each person, but they're always there. And you just got to keep going.
Yeah.
And actually went to a business seminar with my brother years ago, and the guy, that essential oil company, Sage?
Yeah.
S-A-J-E.
Yeah, they're in the mall.
Yeah. So the owner of that was probably the best thing I ever heard at one of those conferences. There's all these nuggets of wisdom. And he's like, yeah, it took me 25 years to actually be profitable. I was like, holy crap, 25 years? And somebody in the audience says, well, what changed? He goes, oh, I ran out of things to fuck up. He's like, I fucked everything up so badly, so many different ways. There's no more things I could mess up. So he just had systems in place to do things properly.
Well, a lot of times in business, you don't know that you're doing it the wrong way until it does fuck up. And you're like, oh shit, I need to redesign this.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so I don't, to answer your question, there wasn't a real pearl per se, but I think just trying to constantly improve and set aside time for working on your business as well as in it, and working with and on the people who are in it.
Yeah, I think that working on it opposed to always working in it, because it's never going to grow and you're never going to improve if you're always spending 14 hours a day working in the business. So
Of course.
I think that's huge for a lot of young entrepreneurs, a lot of people that want to get into business, is you have to set aside time, whether it's every day or every week, to really work on the business. Because if all you're doing is fixing those fuck ups, you're never going to have the opportunity to really...
You're always being reactive.
Yeah, instead of proactive.
And I think too, working on yourself, like, because if you're steering the ship and you're always steering it in the exact same direction, you might be the wrong direction until you work on yourself and then work on the business. They kind of go hand in hand, I think.
Have you done a lot of self-improvement things or books or podcasts?
I read a lot, yeah. I read a lot, listen to a lot of audiobooks, podcasts. And
I think it's, the top 100 CEOs in the world, they read a minimum of like 50 to 100 books every single year.
Yeah, I try to maximize my time. Ryan Serhant, I don't know if you know him. He's a super real estate agent in the States. He's got his own brokerage, and he always talks about the minutes. And you got to track your minutes and make every minute count, basically. I try to use my drive time and travel time. If I'm not on the phone talking to clients, I'll be listening to an audiobook or podcast or something.
Yeah, I'm in my truck a lot, and I always have a podcast or an audiobook on, and I'm running a lot too. So it's, unless I'm like deep in the pain cave and I got to put some techno on or something, it's always audiobook or a podcast, and two things at one time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the great thing about that is you can listen to it at high speed.
Yeah. I always put my podcast, I find about like 1.2 is good for me, because some of them, there's you ever listen to Diary of a CEO? Stephen Bartlett.
Yeah.
I find he talks quite slow.
Oh.
Yeah, so he'll be talking, and then he has this long pause, and I'll actually like pull up my phone. I'm like, did I pause it by accident? It's like, oh no. So I'll put it at, I think he's even higher. I think I do like 1.4 for him, and then you burn through it faster.
Yeah, I'm up to 1.75, and it's when my wife can't stand it. So if we go on a road trip and start listening to something together, and she's like, "No, I needed it. I like it at regular speed. It sounds too weird when you do it." And I'm like, "Oh my God, this is painful. Yeah, it just seems so slow. I want that main line."
You get used to, you start to pick up on it faster the more you listen to it at that increased speed. So sometimes we watch a YouTube video or something, and I'll have it at like 1.5, and then I'll go home and I'll put YouTube on for like music, and and then it's, man, this song sounds really weird, and it's because it's my computer at work, and then my TV are linked on the same YouTube account, so it carries the settings over, and it takes me a minute. I'm like, oh yeah, fuck. I'm like, I was, listen to Joe Rogan, or I was listening to like Chris Williams in Modern Wisdom. I was listening to it faster, and I was like, oh, I got to slow this down.
So how did you? Enough about me. Like, how did you get to where you are? Like this business and.
Oh man, for me, I think where I got to where I am now, a lot of it was dumb luck.
Okay.
Just right place, right time, and I have a saying for myself: everything always works out for me. Like. Shit goes wrong, but everything always works out, and people are like, oh, you're so lucky. And it's like, I am lucky because the last, 10, 20 years, I put in all that work to position myself to have the skill or have the knowledge to navigate that situation. Like everyone wants the view, but no one wants to climb. So you see that person on the podium with the gold medal at the Olympics, and all you saw was their 100-meter sprint.
Right.
It's, what are they, like 9 seconds? So you see 9 seconds of their work, but you don't see that they didn't make the team 4 years before that. And you didn't see all the time they put in school and track. So they put in 20 years of running as fast as they can for 9 seconds to stand on the podium for 10 minutes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a common misconception of success, right? It's, yes, okay, great, you were at the right place at the right time, but you also capitalized on that.
Yeah.
A lot of people can walk by that situation and not take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Right. So
I think as well, with always telling myself everything will work out, I'm not afraid to take on risk. There, they say there's fear, and there's a bunch of different acronyms for it, but I like the one, it's fuck everything and run. So so, like with wanting to start my own thing and be my own boss, it's, fuck those other managers. They don't know what they're doing. Right. I'm just going to say, quit my job, and I'm just going to go all in on something. I can't, this is probably the biggest thing for me, is I can't half-ass anything. Even when I was a kid, like if I got hurt, my mom said I always full-assed everything. I never half-assed anything. Yeah. It's because I give, you can't give more than 100%, but I definitely was given more than 100% to whatever I would do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, put everything into it.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, a buddy of mine's like, same thing. He's like, you don't halfway anything.
Yeah.
No. Why would you?
Yeah.
We're here once.
Yeah. Let's go. The passion in it, right? So I give everything to what I do, and how you do anything is how you do everything. So when I was younger, working at McDonald's, I was working 40 hours a week plus when I was in high school. I would go right from getting off school at 2:30. Nice. Start work at 3:30, work till we close at 11:30, and I would do that 5 days a week. And I had, some girlfriends that would get upset about it, and I didn't have many girlfriends in high school though. But I've had relationships, disintegrate because of that hard work ethic I had. But if I'm going to do something, I want to be the best at it for what I can get to.
For sure.
I'm not going to be Michael Phelps, on the podium, but if I'm going to take up swimming, I'm going to be in the pool at 5:30 in the morning. I'm going to follow the training plan. I'm going to
Do the best you can do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
so I think, looking back at everything that you've said about, growing up and save $100, get $100 meal, learning about compounding interest and working in business and serving, I think it all kind of led you up to have the skills to be that perfect real estate agent.
Well, I like to think that it has definitely accumulated or like come all together, having experience in, both sides of the housing industry, constructing them, renovating them, making them look good. I have an idea of like, I'm not a licensed carpenter, I'm not a home builder, but I've done a ton of that stuff. I understand, when I go into a place, approximately what it's going to take to turn it from what it is to what my client's looking for, and I can give them ideas on which direction to go. Okay, well, I know you've got X number of dollars saved. You could renovate this place and make it what you want, or maybe we could keep looking and have a larger down payment, and you don't have to do all that work. Because there's a joke saying it's the dust from a renovation while you're living there is often called divorce dust. It's like, it's a stressful, shitty thing to go through. I don't know if you've ever done it, but renovating a house while you're living there is not always the easiest thing on a relationship.
I did a bit of a basement kind of myself, and I'm not a carpenter either. So there was a few walls that weren't exactly square, but
right. Yeah.
I think, definitely with your, wanting to be an entrepreneur and all the skills you learned with speaking, because I know that's a huge part. I've, worked with some realtors, and you got to be a little bit charming, right? You need to know what you're talking about, but you also got to make the people feel comfortable with,
it's a super intense relationship. It's like you may see somebody 5, 6, 7 times a week for an extended period of time. A lot. Like, you're going and seeing house after house. You're talking on the phone constantly. Hey, what about this? What about that? You talk about personal things, their dreams, that what they want out of this place, where they're going in their life, with their relationship, their finances. You get to know somebody pretty in depth. I mean, it's not always like that. Sometimes it's really quick, or, they're very private, but often it's a pretty intense, short period of time. So yeah, you kind of become friends to a degree,
So it seems like you start a business and you love it, and you get to the point and it's time to jump off from that, and you have other things on the go as you're being a real estate agent or realtor. What's the term?
Well, there is a difference.
Okay.
A real estate agent is somebody who's passed their real estate exam and is practicing real estate. A realtor is part of the Canadian Real Estate Association, British Columbia Real Estate Association. So there's a different designation. You're held to a higher standard of rules.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're a realtor?
Yes.
Okay. So
and a real estate agent.
Okay.
You can call me what you want.
Okay. I didn't want to say the wrong term and offend you, so I wasn't quite sure.
It's pretty impossible to offend me.
So where I was going with that, though, is do you have like a side hustle as well, or are you full just with the realtor right now?
I don't have time for anything else. No, it's pretty full on. I almost said I haven't had a day off, but I've had 2 full days off since February 1st.
Wow.
Yeah.
You do love the hustle.
It is, yeah. I mean, obviously not every single day I'm like 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever, but yeah, primarily it's, you have to be passionate about it because it's full on.
Well, I remember you went to Mexico recently. That was it, right?
Yeah.
And you sent me a picture, and you're like, "Here's my office for the day," and you're sitting at your computer in Mexico working.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, on the beach. Yeah, get an umbrella, some tacos, maybe a cerveza, and.
Was one of your days off when you were there?
No, after I came back.
Okay.
We got back January 31st, and since then, it's been 2 days off. I counted that as 2 weeks off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. But you were still working there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yep. Phone's always on, man.
Well, it's got to be as a realtor, right? Like one missed call that might have been a sale missed, or
well, for sure. And it's a client not taken care of. Yeah. Right. Sometimes you're in the middle of things. I do have really great relationships with other people here, other realtors, and they can pick up. If somebody needs to see a home when I'm away, they can do that for me, which is great, and it's returned when they're away. So
do you think realtors the last kind of career you'll do?
100%. Yeah.
You love it that much?
This is 100%. I've found home. This is awesome.
Yeah. And then you work at like a home office. You get a lot of free time then? Well,
That's a
free
good
time, we'll say. Like,
Yeah. I asked my wife, well, you're home. You could have cooked dinner.
yeah.
No. I do work from home. I had an office for a while, and I pulled the pin on that.
Yeah.
We had it for about a year, and it worked nicely. But right now I'm out of the house.
Yeah. Maybe not free time, but more flexible time.
Flex. 100%. There's flex time. Like I said, we couldn't be employees because you say I'm leaving. It's like, well, I don't. You get used to not asking anybody for anything. It's like, well, I'm going to the dentist today at whatever. Nobody gives a crap. Nobody also gives a crap if I don't do anything.
Yeah.
But I'd be broke.
Yeah.
Right. I wouldn't have an income.
Yeah. What you put in is what you're going to get out of it, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we're kind of talking earlier about, and I was saying, it's tough to decide what you want to do, and I've done a lot of different things. I don't think there's one path that typically leads you all the way to the end of your career. Most people have several different trajectories, or they change course partway through. So it's like, just start something and go for it.
Yeah.
Try your absolute hardest at it. Doesn't matter what it is, and don't start it with thinking of the end, but start it knowing it might not be the be all and end all, but try as hard as you can to make it so. Because changing's not super fun.
Yeah, I know that they've done studies with people on their deathbeds, and they ask them about regrets, and they never regret the things that they did or tried. They regret the things that they never tried.
A lot of people are like, "Oh, I've always wanted to be a realtor."
I got an extra bottle.
Look at that!
I came prepared.
Thank you.
Get the other one
We're
off the
ready.
table.
Keep me hydrated. Yeah, like, why wouldn't you? If it's something you say you've always wanted to do, friggin' go out there and do it.
Yeah. And what's the worst that happens? You fail? I mean, especially when you're younger, you have that time to do it.
That's just it. Yeah. Especially when you're young. Take the chances, take the risks. Obviously, your risk parameters should be reducing as you age. But
I know Kamloops is quite a hot market, and seems like there's quite a few real estate agents and realtors.
It's 370 here.
Yeah. What is there, like 1,200 listings right now?
Somewhere around there,
Yeah. I mean, that's 4 for everyone. That's a pretty good month.
Well, I've got 9 right now.
Okay. There you go. Taking some from the younger guys, right?
Yeah.
So if what would be your advice to a younger person, or maybe not younger, but someone wanting to get into real estate now?
Discuss it with people who've done it.
Yeah.
Talk to people who are successful at it. Talk to people who are just starting. Talk to, ideally you kind of in your mind go, oh, I'm going to talk to the best.
Yeah.
And typically they're not going to have a lot of time to talk to you. And if they do, friggin' good on you. Talk to someone who's just a few steps ahead of you and say, well, how's it going?
Yeah.
And then they'll go, oh God, it's not what I expected. Holy crap. But yeah, you just do some informational interviews, no matter what it is, real estate or otherwise. Like, it's go and talk to people. People want to talk about themselves.
Yeah. So besides giving the advice to those young folks getting into it to go talk to other people, if someone sat you down and you had 1 minute to give them advice about starting out, what would you say? In
real estate particularly?
Yeah.
Start with a bunch of money in the bank. Expect not to make money for a year.
Yeah.
That's realistically 6 months, but be ready to live for a year and have additional costs that you didn't realize were going to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hustle. Do not stop hustling. Work on yourself, work on your business, work on your systems, automate what you can, and work like crazy.
Yeah. I love that you brought up go and talk to other people that have done it and pick their brains. So before I got into business, I had worked for another guy doing some electrical work, and I texted him, hey, can I come and ask you some questions about, starting a business and everything? And he didn't have a lot of time. So I actually met him and picked his brain while he was getting a tattoo. And I don't remember anything else he said, but I think it was the first thing that he had mentioned. I said, what's the biggest piece of advice? He says, go get a fucking accountant. So
yeah, well, that too. Get an accountant.
Before I had anything set up, I am like, I don't know who to use. He's like, here's my accountant's number. Give her a call. And she's been more like a business mentor and a friend now.
Man, that's invaluable, actually, because you quite often think of the nuts and bolts of things, not operational wise. And it's like, oh, well, I need to get a client. I need to sell them a house or whatever the thing is you're doing. And then you go, holy crap, it's the end of the year.
Yeah.
What have I done? Where's all my money? You know, I got to pay GST, I got to pay taxes. You got all these things, and you have to have your shit together.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's so much easier from the start. You know, I got advice to not bother. You know, some people have different ways of doing everything, but a CRM, client relationship management system, in case people didn't know what that means. I got advice to say, forget it. That's a waste of time, a waste of money. And I'm like, I can't comprehend how that could be a waste of time or a waste of money. It's like, I need to keep track of all the people. I've got almost over 1,000 people in my database now, you know, 3.5, almost 4 years later. I can only imagine 10 years down the road, like you're going to have tens of thousands of people in there. How do you possibly communicate or keep track of them? Like I talk to people, I take notes on, so I know exactly who they are, what's going on.
Yeah. So, yeah,
You got to make your own decisions, but definitely an accountant is
dude,
definitely a good move.
I met with her today to ask some questions about stuff. It's tax filing, right? So I'm behind, but and then I said, hey, can we do this? She's like, oh no, that's illegal. And then I see her look up to the left, and she's like, but what we could do.
Nice. I have to get this person's number. My guy's retiring, so.
Oh, she's great. Yeah, I can pass it along to you afterwards.
Cool.
She is. I could honestly say I think without her, I probably would have went under a few times just because things like every month having to pay, you know, the it's not corporate taxes, but it's when you withhold like the EI and the CPP and that sort of thing. Like every
remittance.
month, remittance. Every month you have to do it by the 15th, and if you miss it one time, I think it's a 4% penalty for the entire year. And then if you miss it a second time, it's a massive penalty. It takes years to get off of that. I didn't know that. I probably still wouldn't have paid it. Like,
yeah. No, you got to do things right. You get behind awfully quickly. And there's no, like, if there was a brochure to say own your own business, it just could never, ever depict what it actually looks like. And, like, you know, behind the curtain.
There's no roadmap for it.
No, there isn't. And everything's different. Every little nuance of business is going to be different for you than it is for me. And yeah.
But there's still all those things we're going to fuck up on. And
and that's the thing. Like, you have all these fuck ups, but having, you know, a good network of people, like, to draw upon. And it's like, hey, even if you've never experienced this thing, I bet you I could phone you up and say, hey, this is what I'm going through right now. What do you say? And I don't even have to give you much background. I bet you could come up with an idea that's perhaps different from what I would have thought. And, you know, bouncing those ideas off like-minded people or experienced people or people with different experiences than you is huge.
Yeah. Yeah. Just because I haven't gone through the same situation that you've gone through doesn't mean I can't relate it to something that I've had to put a fire out for. Like, oh, hey, have you thought about this? And you're like, oh, fuck. Okay. Yeah. I think that'll work.
Yeah. Do you ever find you wake up in the middle of the night with a solution to something that you're working on?
I do. Maybe not wake up in the middle of the night, but I find that my best ideas come to me like in that, like, that 15 minutes between like being awake and like, you know, falling asleep, and I'll like sit up. I'm like, oh, fuck. And I'm like, and I'll pick my phone up. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, Siri, set an alarm for 8 a.m. tomorrow. And then I'll say whatever the note is. And then I fall back asleep and I forget about it. And then the next day I'm sitting there at my desk and the alarm goes off and I was like, oh yeah.
Exactly. Your wife's like, what are you talking? Why are you talking again? Shut up. I'm going to sleep.
To your phone. Yeah. Oftentimes, like even the name for the podcast, we went through a bunch of different ones, and lying awake in bed last night and I'm chatting with my wife, and actually You Should Quit is something that I recite to myself lots of times, and I'm, you know, deep in the pain cave. And those are the kind of things that everyone else kind of says, you know what I mean? Like, oh, why do you do that? You should just quit. Like, you don't have to do the last 7 kilometers of your 50-kilometer run. And then I was going through names, and the previous one we had was Run Your Mouth. And I really like that. And then it just sort of popped into my head. I was like, babe, I always say you should quit. She's like, that's it. I'm like, okay.
You should quit.
Remind me tomorrow. She's like, okay. And I woke up this morning, I was like, oh shit, what was it? I was like, Janelle, I'm like, what did we say last night? What was it? She's like, you should quit. Like, in the bed. I'm like, yes, thank you.
That's perfect. Because there's a weird phenomenon that people who care about you inadvertently try to stop you from striving. And it's a protective mechanism. They go, oh gosh, you're going to go out on that limb. What if you fail? and they want to stop you from feeling that pain.
Mhm.
But in turn, it's stifling what this magnificent thing it could be.
Mhm.
And I always saw, you kind of have to go. Things always work out, right? And it's like that. I don't know. You got to just proceed.
Yeah.
But have you ever heard that story? The luck story. It's like this farmer, his son is riding a horse, and the he gets bucked off. He breaks his leg, and his neighbor goes, "Oh God, you're so unlucky."
Mhm.
And the farmer goes, "Maybe." 2 weeks later, the army comes by, and they're like, "Oh, we can't take your son. He's got a broken leg." And the neighbor's like, "Oh my God, you're so lucky." And he's like, "Maybe."
Yeah.
And it goes on and on like that. It's like you just don't know,
No.
right? So
You never know
friggin'
that.
run for it, man.
Yeah.
You should quit.
Yeah. I should quit. Yeah. I like to recite that mantra to myself
Yeah.
in life and in business. And it's kind of like negative reinforcement. And I respond really well to that. I can remember being in the gym, and I'm 25 years old, and there was these two huge guys, and they became mentors for me down the road, but they were the biggest guys in the gym. And I'm like, well, if I want to get big, I should, train with the biggest guys. So I knew the one guy's girlfriend, and she would text me when he went to the gym. So then he's going to the gym. So I would go, and he would do an exercise, and then I'd go over and do it. And that happened for about 2 weeks or so. And eventually he came up to me, and he was 6'5", like 240, and I'm 170 pounds at this time. I'm 6'2", and he goes, "Hey, see you follow me around the gym." And I'm like, "Oh fuck." And he's like, "Do you just want to work out with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, for sure." So I learned all about working out from him, and I actually ended up getting a job working for him as well.
Wow.
And it turned into a great, probably one of the pivotal moments in my life. But just, it's like you saying to, a young realtor, go find the people that have done it. That's what I did there.
Yeah. I've been fortunate enough to have, 30-year vet. I always answer my phone, my phone calls. It's like, "Hey, I got this problem. I got this situation." It's always like, he's, seen it all, right?
Yeah.
And if he hasn't seen that exact thing, well, he probably has, but he's just was like, "Oh yeah, you got to do this. And I'm like, "Oh, thank God." Without him, oof, scary.
Yeah. It's good to have a mentor.
100%.
So it's kind of like my accountant.
Yeah.
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 I've called her up for things before that nothing to do with accounting. I'm like, "What about this for business?" And she says, "Well, I have a client, and they were in a similar situation, totally different businesses.
Yeah.
And this is what they did. I think that if you did this would work." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you. You have so much knowledge." Like,
Yeah.
this
It's
is
awesome, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I think those like mastermind group kind of things. That's what you can gain from those. Or just having a peer group, whatever.
Or a newsletter that comes out, or like a Discord group or something to bounce ideas off of. And because sometimes they sound great in my head, and I'll say it to my wife. I'm like, "What about this?" She's like, "You should think about that again." And I'm like, But no, this and this. And it's like, no, that won't work. And you say, our loved ones don't want us to fail, but sometimes they're pretty shitty ideas. So.
Oh, 100%. I was more meaning like, "Oh, I want to, do this business or do this idea or whatever," right? And parents or whatever. It's like, "Oh, well, I want to protect my little Kevy," But yeah, in the end, they want to see you succeed.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So looking back at your multiple careers that you've had, what would you say would have been your biggest, like crash and burn, your biggest fuck up that you learned the most from? I'm sure there's a few.
Oh, there's tons.
Yeah.
But I think, oh God, I'm getting cringy just thinking about this. My very first time I went and did an estimate for a painting quote, I got that first phone call from my business card being at the paint store, and I really didn't know what I was doing, and I walked into this home. I'm like, "Oh yeah, pump myself up, feeling all confident." And then the person starts asking me some questions. I'm like, "Holy crap, I should not be here. This is ridiculous." Like, yes, I can execute the job fine, but geez, like, I don't know shit about this, like, at all. It was so bad. I mean, I was embarrassed. I went back to my truck after going, "There's no fucking way she's ever calling me, ever." She didn't, obviously. But, I wrote down I sat in the truck, just like licking my wounds, and I wrote down every question she asked me, and then elaborated on those, and sort of thought, well, if she asked that, somebody could ask this. Went away and figured it all out. Sort of structured my approach. So the second time was far less cringy. Obviously, you refine things over time, but boy, oh boy, that was awful. That was awful. But it's prepared me for real estate. I mean, it's like I've gone into thousands of homes prior to ever being a realtor. So I can walk in and feel super comfortable with people I've never met.
Yeah.
Talking about their home, talking about this, their future plans, goals, whatever. Doesn't matter. But I can imagine not having that background and doing it, it'd be like daunting.
Yeah. I wonder how your life would have turned out different had you gone in there, and even though you felt it was cringy and that you fucked up, if she had called you like 10 minutes later, how it might have changed, because you're like, oh, I did everything right. And if you kept having successes that way, how different it might have been if you hadn't have failed that first time and looked back at what you did.
I would have been disappointed if she called me. I would have been like, this industry is full of absolute knobs, because man, if I got the job, everybody else must have been awful.
Maybe she was a terrible old lady and no one wanted to work with her, though. And
Perhaps.
She wanted to prey on you.
Yeah, no. It was all me in the wrong there. But yeah, that would have been, you're right though. Like you kind of, I've seen realtors start out with a massive sphere who've been in the community longer than me in Kamloops here. And they started out just swinging, like knocking it out of the park, deal after deal after deal, right from day one. And, the last few years, the market slowed down significantly. There's less houses being sold. It's just a changing dynamic in the market. But having started off with it easy, and I wouldn't say easy, but like flowing, let's say, they're now seeing their numbers drop, right? Because you don't know how to go out and get the job, right? It's like they come to you always, which is great. It's awesome if you can do that. Fantastic. And it's, in time, it does happen. You get the referral wheel going, but not understanding how to actually go out and hunt and
that hustle,
make those new connections and turn those new connections. And that's one thing. Starting this thing, I never wanted to be the used car salesman guy who's like, oh, every interaction every person I meet has dollar signs in their eyes. It's just so cringy. It's disgusting. So having that happen organically, if somebody's needing that, great. That's always the goal.
Yeah, I think success early out the gate without having failures before can be really detrimental.
Oh, you're totally right.
Yeah. Because I know with myself, I've been to rock bottom and like you're broke and nothing's working and you're a week away from insolvency. And then you grind and you put that work in, and then you get that first one, and then you work harder and you get that second one. So you knew how hard it took and how much effort you had to put in to go from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 sales.
Yeah.
And then it starts to slow down. You know the work that you have to put in, and you're never going to get back down to 0. You won't let yourself get that low. But if you do have that huge success right away, you're like, this is easy.
Yeah.
Why isn't everyone a realtor?
That's
and then,
right.
like you said, it slows down and they don't know what to do to get back to that point.
Yeah, 100%. And that happens in all businesses, but I see it a lot in real estate. It's like a lot of people are on this roller coaster of deals and success. It's like, okay, well, I don't have much going on. Well, I'm going to work my butt off. And then all of a sudden they're really busy. And they're like, oh, I don't have time to keep doing that. I don't need to. It's going like crazy. I've got all these deals, and then those end, and they're back down to having nothing. And then they work, and it's like, no, you have to do it all the time.
You got to be on every day. Yeah, no
Make
days
it
off.
happen.
Like you said, only 2 days off.
Well, you know what? There's also a point at which you need to recharge. A buddy of mine was chatting with him this morning. Very good entrepreneur locally, and he's like, just remember, man, can't be on all the time. You got to have time to recharge those batteries, and your efficacy goes downhill if you're never recharging that cell.
Yeah, I found that out the hard way a few times.
Imagine with business and with running.
So the running is a newer thing, but I've always been into the gym and sports and stuff. But I can remember for years it was 7 days a week, 10, 12 hours a day, and get home and I think, I had a shorter day, it's 10 hours, and then, oh no, something came up, I had to work. And then it was 6 days a week for a while. And then it was finally down to 5 days a week, but it was still, I had to work one of the weekend days. And then I think it was just maybe a year and a half ago that I switched to actually Monday to Friday and having my time off line up when my kids are out of school, which is awesome.
That's so good.
Yeah. But the big thing came with that was because even though I had Fridays off, I was still always in the office. So I was still working those 6 days. So it made that little shift. And that's when I started to, it's really hard, especially entrepreneur, business owner. It's that balance between work and life. And often it's teetering towards the work and that quality of life and family life. That's what takes the hit. But then you get burnt out. And then I'm like, hey, I need a week off. And then it opens your eyes like, oh, I'm doing all this hard work so that I can have these opportunities and make these memories with my family. But if you never take that time to, because you're too close to it, right? If you're always in that work mode, it's all you know. That is your routine.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You sit there going, oh, well, if I don't do this now, then I'd have to do it tomorrow. So I may as well just do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that takes away the time from the kids
That's
and
right.
the wife. And
yeah, you got to remember why you're doing it. And it's typically, everybody's got their own reason, but sounds like you and I are fairly aligned, like time with family and those sort of quality times. And
yeah, I spent most of Sunday in Vernon with my son for
Nice.
a rugby tournament. And yeah, he was one of 3 of his teammates that showed up from Kamloops.
Oh, wow.
So they pulled some teams together. So it was good. He still got to play. I think he played 3 games. He got 4 tries, and he was the hardest working kid out there.
Nice.
Yeah, it's still flagged because he's only 10, but he was running everyone down. He was putting all the work in. I was like, yes, this is what I've been trying to teach him for his whole life.
Well, that's the thing. Sport really brings that out in people, and I think it's so imperative.
Yeah, it's wild because he's for sport works so hard, and then his brother, my other son, who's 2 years older, he's 12. He's got the hustle, man. He's got the entrepreneurial spirit.
Is that right?
Saves every penny. He got a little donut machine and he makes little donuts. And then we have a sign and stuff, and he sits at the end of the driveway and he'll sell them on a Saturday, and he'll make $250.
No way.
In an afternoon.
That's amazing.
Selling donuts.
Good for him.
Yeah, he saves it up, and then he recently bought, I think it was like $600 or $700, another remote control car.
Yeah.
It just rips.
Yeah.
So
Those things are crazy.
but he had a hard lesson just recently. So he needed a bigger battery for it, and he needed a faster charger for it. So he did all the research, and we got it, and it came in. And I told him, I'm like, you can't go more than 5-10 minutes without checking on it because there is a fire hazard. And then he's got it charging, and we're in bed, and I'm like, hey, did you turn the charger off? He's, no, it's charging. I'm like, no, you have to turn it off. He's like, well, why, Dad? I'm like, it could start a fire. You have to turn it off. Like, okay, so he turns it off. Next day, it's in the garage, plugs it in, doesn't tell anyone, goes to school. My wife's upstairs in her bedroom doing Pilates, and she hears this bang, and then she doesn't think anything of it because we live quite close to the train tracks.
Right.
So you'll hear the trains clacking together. And then her sister's at the house right now. And then she walks past the garage door that comes into the house, and there's smoke coming in. The batteries exploded. So my wife goes and grabs the fire extinguisher, and thank goodness that I had a 10-pound fire extinguisher there, and all up the garage door or into the house, and then on the steps, just covered in soot and flames to the ceiling, and she put it out.
Crap.
Yeah, so he had a hard lesson because he had gotten those batteries and the charger the day before it blew up.
Wow.
So he's out $250, and he's
Nearly a house.
yeah, that's thank goodness. Imagine if I hadn't have remembered that they were charging the night before. So tragedy averted.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's crazy.
It all works out for me. So now he's got another hard lesson coming up. I haven't had the chance to talk to him about it yet, but to repair the door and repair the steps, he has to pay for it.
Yeah.
So when it's a Saturday and I have to, take all the lawn clippings and the stuff to the dump, I'm like, we're taking it to the dump and you're unloading it all. He's like,
Oh, yeah.
but I want to play with my friends. Like, no, you need to earn $4 an hour like Kevin did. He was a kid. And it's going to take you, 100 plus hours to work this off. And then that's your punishment.
It's great. I mean, you'd like to not have to do that, but I think those lessons are invaluable.
Mm-hmm.
If there's no consequence to anything, then they proceed into adulthood with thinking that there's no consequences, but there certainly are, and they become more and more real.
Yeah, I think you need those hard lessons when you're a kid,
Mm-hmm.
especially because he's so good at saving his money and earning it as well.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, I can just earn it and then pay you back through the donuts. And it's like, no, you're going to do what I say to do this. You're going to do things that you don't like because he didn't fully grasp the severity that it could have been. He just thought, I just got those batteries, just got those chargers, I'm out $250. It's like, you can make that again, but you have to put the work in. And if I end up painting the door myself, I'm like, he's going to come help paint it.
Oh, 100%.
Like, yeah, he's going to put the work in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, my stepson, I was just thinking about this today, actually. I said, hey, can you go wash the dogs? And we've got one pretty solid one, and ties it to this plastic pipe, water line.
Yeah.
And the dog, it broke, obviously. There was water going everywhere. Oh my God, what do I do? And I just show him where to shut the water off. And then he's like, whoa, okay, cool. I'm like, yeah, but it's still broken.
Yeah.
And I told you not to tie it up to that. And now you're going to fix it. And, here's the parts list. Go to Home Hardware, buy these things, because it's walking distance from our house.
okay.
And guy gives him the wrong piece. He's like, oh, well, this doesn't fit. I'm like, yeah, well,
Go back.
And it was like this. And he's like, okay, well, then I have to put this new piece of wood on. Yeah, well, you've got to put caulking around it, fill the holes, prime it, paint it again before you put the plastic pipe back on. He's like, oh my God, this is forever. I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
That's why you got to be cautious proceeding. Like, you can't be reckless, right?
And if you had just listened, just like my kid, if you had just listened to what we said, and I think it's a lesson in them to learn that your parents probably know what they're talking about because they've probably fucked up along the way as well. So
Yeah, it's learning from our mistakes.
I almost burnt my house down when I was a kid too. Oof. So I had a girlfriend and she was supposed to come over, and I wanted to make it a little more romantic. So I had some like tea light candles in my room, and my closet didn't have a door and it was big and open. And I had one on one of the shelves. And then she texted like, "Hey, I can't come over." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." So dumb kid. My mom used to call me her idiot boy, like her idiot son. So I leave my bedroom and go into like a kid's rec room, and I'm playing like StarCraft, and I got the headphones on and I'm rocking out, and then all of a sudden I hear like the alarm's going off. Rush back over there.
Oh my God.
There's just smoke billowing out of my bedroom, and I'm also stupid. I just open the door and more smoke comes out. I look, my closet's on fire. What had happened is the heat from the tea light lit the bottom of the shelf on fire.
Right.
So I run to the kitchen. Our dogs ate out of this huge salad bowl, and I knew it was the biggest thing. So I dumped their food, filled it up with water from the washroom, back and forth. Thankfully, I put it out. Everything in my room is ruined. It just reeks like melted plastic and wood, and it's the middle of the winter. So I just open my window, and I grew up north in Terrace. So there's like 3 feet of snow on the ground. So I threw everything that was burnt just out my window. And I shit you not, the only thing that didn't burn in my closet, I lost all my clothes. I had like a 6x4 poster of like Bruce Lee from Enter the Dragon.
Oh, nice.
And there wasn't a lick of a smoke damage on him.
Well,
he was
Bruce
fine.
Lee fended it off.
That's right. He fought that fire. So that was a tough lesson because my parents are like, we're not buying you new clothes. You have to buy all brand new ones. And thankfully, I did work at McDonald's at the time, and what did I make? Like $600 a week. But it was expensive to replace them all. But that was a lesson that I learned early on. Yeah. Don't play with fire.
Don't play with fire, man. So many perils and pitfalls.
Yeah. Did you, as a kid, have anything like that? Hard lesson to learn?
No, nothing quite that. Nothing quite that extreme. No.
Not drastic?
No, not that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure I did all kinds of stupid stuff, but yeah.
I got to ask, when you bought your house, 30 years ago now, you're saying, how much did the house cost back then?
It was $192,000.
For a brand new like condo, right?
Condo, yeah.
And what would that go for now in Vancouver?
That right in that area, I'm going to guess it's probably close to 700. Yeah. I know it's really interesting. My folks, their first house, they paid $45,000 for it.
Oh,
and that's probably, it's worth about $2 million now.
Jeez.
And
North Van, you said?
Yeah, in North Van. And they did have some really rough times. They were paying over 20% interest, you know, on their mortgage.
That was like in the 80s, right?
Yeah, yeah. So now we're talking about 4% or 5%, and there people are whining, "Oh, it's so expensive." No, it is not. But anyway, the interesting part that I find quite fascinating is they're both working full time, renting an apartment, and I think they had one car between the two of them. They were able to save up $15,000 in 2 years. Okay. So that's 1/3 of the purchase price of the house. So imagine saving up 1/3 of a purchase price of a $2 million, that same house, $2 million is $666,000
It's not happening.
in 2 years.
No.
Like, hello, holy crap. That's a bit of a discrepancy, right?
Yeah.
Which, granted, it was a long time ago, but that's just illustrates how difficult it is now to actually get started. And if you don't start early, really grinding, unless you're fortunate enough to have, you know, family or, you know, inheritance that happens, you're really on your own, and it's tough.
Yeah.
Like, imagine paying rent now, whatever that is. Let's say you're paying $3,000 a month for where you're living, and then saving $600,000 in 2 years.
You're lucky to save that over probably the course of your lifetime.
Right. Yeah. Thankfully, you know, Kamloops obviously is a little bit more expensive than it was, but comparatively, it's still fairly low priced, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. I've had a lot of friends move to smaller cities. I have a lot of family and friends that still live in Terrace. My sister just bought her first house in Terrace, and she's 8 years. She's 31, and I think it was around 500,000. But it's 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, detached garage, really nice street down by the high school. They did put a bunch of work into it. Each room had a different type of flooring in it.
Oh, wow.
So they're like, that's the first thing that's going to go. Like,
I
no
always like
flow
that.
to it.
I like that.
So they put some work into it, you know, 10, 20 grand, but they did the majority of the work themselves. But that house here, what does that house here go for? And it was probably, I bet you it's 1/4 acre lot too.
Oh, wow.
So what's that here?
It's a lot more than 500.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Depending on the neighborhood you're in.
Yeah,
but
depending on the neighborhood, it could be $800-900 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, the 5% up to 500,000. That's probably a rule they need to kind of adjust for.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm along for the ride with the rules. So
Yeah, not much
we
we
just
can
sort of
do
navigate, you know, the best we can through it, and yeah.
Yeah, I know they put in that new, was it no GST on brand new builds? But unless you've, you know, saving from quite an early age, a brand new build is still going to be super expensive, right?
Yep. Yeah, and there's typically not a lot of negotiation on new builds. So
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we're along for the ride. The market's going to dictate how that goes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, you got to have a goal and sort of play your cards right to hit that goal and start early. Like I said, there's no, you know, trying to time the market is really tricky, but time in market always wins.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like the intensity and consistency thing. It's
Totally.
Yeah, just get into it. So
yeah.
I want to get on something else. So I noticed when we were walking in here that you've got looks like a new pair of Ultras on.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
So
yeah.
Are you doing some running in the trails?
No, zero running for this guy. No, I banged myself. I've had some injuries, so no running here. Yeah. I've got a fused ankle, so.
Okay, yeah, it doesn't bend quite so well then.
No, not at all. Not even a little.
You can still pedal a bike though.
100%. Yeah, biking is top notch, but yeah.
Why the Ultras then? They're quite an extreme trail shoe. I have a pair in.
Just the fit. So I've had 3 surgeries on my ankle. Yeah. And the shape of my foot is quite different now because there's no flex in the ankle. So when you walk, you have to have some sort of flex that comes through my foot. So in that having happened, my toes are a little bit wider. So like I notice when I go on vacation wearing flip-flops for 2-3 weeks at a time, I come back and put on a normal pair of shoes. I'm like, oh, wow, this does not feel good. So the Ultras fit my feet.
Yeah. Well, we're not designed to wear shoes, right? Like you go on vacation to any country that's, you know, a tropical and they're in flip-flops or not wearing shoes at all and their toes are all splayed out. And they could go harder in the trails than we can with shoes on, right?
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing, we just got back from Mexico, wearing flip flops all day. The terrain there, the roads where we typically go, they're cobblestone and like actual rocks. It's rough. You're in or walking in the sand. Your feet get so much stronger.
Yep.
And it was cold when we got home. We put our hiking boots on and took the dogs around the block on pavement. And we're like, oh my God, I feel so lazy right now. Like you're just not active. You're active. Obviously you're walking, but you don't have to control your posture nearly as much. Your feet aren't using their muscles at all. You know,
zero.
You got these stiff boots and smooth roads. You don't have, you become totally lazy.
Yeah. I got friends and they're like, oh, my feet hurt. I'm going to go get orthotics. And orthotics, they're great. You know, some people have misshapen feet and fallen arches, that sort of thing. But for the average person, you're treating the symptom, not the cause. And I tell them, you just need to strengthen your feet. They're like, what do you mean strengthen your feet? I'm like, well, if your back hurts because you're a laborer and you're not strong enough to pick up, 2 bags of cement, but you're trying, over time, you're going to strengthen your back. Same thing with walking, with running, with hiking. You need to train your feet to be strong. There's so many bones and muscles in your feet. And if you're always wearing this, basically a cloud on your foot, your feet don't flex. It does it all for you. I have shoes that are, race shoes, and they have this huge rocker in them. And I don't wear them very often, but those are not good for my feet, for strengthening them. I take a step and it automatically rolls my foot over.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I love those, having one ankle solid.
So I have a pair of Ultras, and I know what you mean by with the fit, because the Ultras, they have quite a wide toe box, and they're quite different to get used to, because mine are a zero drop, and I'm used to at least a little bit of cushion. And but I like that you brought up like the cobblestone when you were on vacation there. We're not meant to walk on perfectly smooth surfaces either, right?
No.
And that's why I will get, during the winter when I can't run up in the trails, I will get on my right ankle like severe pain because I pronate so badly on my one foot. But I can run forever throughout the entire spring, summer, fall in the trails in just my regular trail shoes, and my ankle will never hurt, because every step
it's a little different,
right? But if you're just running the same pattern over and over again, that's where those like overuse kind of injuries, repetitive use injuries come about.
Yeah, it's like imbalances, and I from mountain biking so much, you crash. Like it's inevitable. I had a conversation with a doctor a while ago. They're like, "Oh, have you had concussions?" I'm like, yeah, like 3 or 4 that I can think of that were pretty severe. She's like, "What about minor concussions?" Well, define that. And then she gave me the definition. I was like, "Oh, those. I don't know, 1,000, 2,000." She's like, "Holy crap. Okay." So I was probably at the chiropractor once a week, once every 2 weeks forever. My neck was always sore. And I used to do martial arts, kickboxing, and I thought, I don't really want to get punched or kicked in the head anymore. Jiu-jitsu looked kind of fun.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh God, my neck, forget it. I can never do that.
Yeah.
And a buddy of mine convinced me to do it. I was so hurting after the first class, but I got hooked. And, after you get over that initial hump of total pain, I don't have to go to the chiropractor anymore. Like I go maybe once a year, and it's muscle imbalances. It's strengthening the neck, and it's probably much like the feet.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you go from having this, recurring need for a chiropractor once a week, or once, between 2 and 4 times a month, to once a year, just from strengthening the neck muscles from someone trying to rip your head off.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting cranked on. Your neck's going to get stronger as you're fighting against it, and you're flowing with it. And that's for sure.
It's just like another example of not shying away from what you think might be the problem, right? It's like treating the symptoms, not the solution.
Yeah, I know for me in the gym, I have a coach, 100 Mile Kyle. Check him out.
100 Mile Kyle.
100 Mile Kyle. And a lot of my training is for, hitting the hills and like running long distances. I'm just picking things up and carrying them. I'm just stepping up onto a box. It's really broken down into the simple movements you're going to be out there. A lot of, unilateral and things where I'm off balance. But if I'm just doing just squat, just deadlift. I'm going to get really good at doing that, but it's not going to hit those smaller muscles that I'm going to be using when I'm running. Same with you doing jiu-jitsu and your neck hurting all the time. Your neck was weak. Couldn't hold your giant head up.
That's right. Oh, settle down there.
I have a giant head. My head's like the size of a cinder block.
So my brother's going to be so happy you said that.
Does he?
We both have big heads, but
Okay.
so one guy who was working for him's like, "Oh God, Jason, your head's way bigger than Kevin's." And I'm like, "Yes." I don't think it is. I think my head's even bigger. But
I can't find hats. Like
no, it's tough.
Yeah,
It's tough. It's tough. All those brains, I guess.
I know, that's right. So for my running hats, they're one size fits all, but the back is all Velcro. And then so there's like the sticky part, and then there's like the softer part where you're supposed to. And like half of my softer part is through just to make it fit on top of my head. And then it's supposed to sit here, and it sits up here like one of those little hats that you whirl, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a beanie.
Yeah. So a little foolish, but I like them. So.
Hey, whatever.
Yeah.
This has been fun.
Yeah, this is awesome.
I'm pretty stoked that I get to be your first guest.
I couldn't have thought of anyone better to be the first one. I think I even reached out to you like right after.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, hey, like I want to do
you want
this.
to come on this podcast?
Yeah.
I'm like, sweet. I didn't know you had one. You're like, I don't.
I don't. That was in January we first
I think it was
met?
January, yeah.
Yeah, so January, February, March. So we're about 5 months from when I first had that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of like what I said. You asked about, business and how I got into things like right place, right time. Like, had you not reached out and then we met up for that, and then you're like, yeah, I was like, professional level mountain biker and this and real estate and business. And I was like, I'm like, idea in my head, like, had we not had that meeting, kind of like when you failed that with the first estimate for that painting job, like, had I not had that, this, maybe it still came about in a different way, but
sure.
maybe not at the when it did. But it was.
It's fun, man. It's a great way to meet people, and I'm super thankful you had me on here.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
thank you. I think we're good to end it here, but I got one question.
Okay.
So
Oh boy, the doozy at the end. Here we go.
actually, I had more questions written down. I'm actually glad I didn't have them because I think it flowed pretty well. But I have one question. So if everything you've ever done was all deleted and no one knew about any of your accomplishments, any of your trials and tribulations, and you had to say one thing to a group of people or to a person about yourself, how you want to be remembered, or like one piece of advice, you're on your deathbed and everything else is gone. Like, what would Kevin say to give back to the world? We'll say.
I would say spend as much time and energy on the people you love as possible.
That's beautiful.
It's the most important thing.
Yeah.
That's it.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you, Kevin. That was amazing. Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate
All right.
it.
And then we got an outro or something. I don't know. One of these makes sounds. I don't know how to do.
You look
this.
like a DJ right now. That's all I have to say.
We won't have this in there, but I'm gonna make these sounds happen. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Can you hear that or just
Yeah,
me?
I can hear it.
Yeah, it's like a newscaster. There we go. Cool. Goes off. Oh, okay, and then we hold this button.